Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to my colleagues, to the staff, to the testifiers, all in the chambers, and to all those listening and viewing. So I think I too will commend the chairman, because I know he did a lot of work in reviewing the code, and I didn't participate in all of the meetings, but in some. But I say that on the one hand, and I say on the other hand, that doesn't mean that if we disagree on these final proposals that in some way we are devaluing the work of the group. It doesn't mean that the bills that come out we're automatically going to support. And I say that because I don't support either of these two measures. And I think that what underlies my non-support is that I think we shouldn't be thinking about reducing the numbers of people who run for office. I ran twice, and I thought myself well qualified to be a senator for the District of St. Thomas St. John. I thought I knew enough people. I thought enough people were familiar with my public work, my education, my involvement in the community. I thought all of that, and I got all my signatures, and I filed my papers, and all my residency, and everything was in order. But I lost twice, right? Because the test is not getting onto the ballot. The test is getting people to vote for you. And I don't believe that it is a democratic principle to be reducing either the opportunities for people to run or in any way limiting people's access to the ballot. Now, the statement was made because, Ms. Forbes, you said there, how many Republicans you said in the District of St. Thomas St. John?
614.
614. I thought I had the correct number, but I wanted to be sure. So if you say in the case of a senator in the second bill, they would need to get 200. Sure, they're enough to give you 200 of 614, but that's really a difficult task to get 1/3. That's like 1/3 of the people registered to that party to sign your petition, to even get on the ballot. And so in these times when we need leadership, when we're a crucial place in terms of leadership in our communities, we don't want to discourage people from running, because they then have to go there and convince people to vote for them. Similarly, you know, we've been bombarded with issues about people setting qualifications. Some people get up and they say, well, to run for a senator, you should have this or you should have that. You should have a degree or whatever. That's not democracy. Democracy is people set their own criteria. The voters set their own criteria for who they want to select. And we should not make it more difficult for people to get on the ballot. And when we get in here, you know, a lot of people would argue that we have an advantage because we're on the television all day, and we can campaign all 2 years or whatever the case may be, right? And that person who's out there who may have an idea about getting this government moving or whatever the case may be, if we make it harder for them, we've extended the period of time that people have to go and leave from their jobs to be a candidate. And I think we have to think about whether in a small place we're going to benefit from making it more difficult for people to run. It's for a system of election to decide if these candidates meet the criteria. It's the people who then decide, do I want them to represent me? And I agree that we should not be making it harder for people to run. Dr. Molina, in your suggestion of percentages, I don't see where the independent or the no party voter comes in.
Yes, we were not sure of that, how many numbers were in the independent group, and so we did not really offer a suggestion there. But I think we would need to have, if we're going to do percentages with everybody else, we really should have a percentage there.
Okay. And in your case, you're suggesting no less than 50 in the case of a senator.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe the numbers should stay where they are. That's my personal opinion. Now, I think the other issue is at least as challenging. I think Senator Bellado, and I'm going to call you Senator because it's harder for me to keep up. The one stays in my mind, the one I know longest. You said in response to I think when Senator Riley started off first, I didn't quite get a sense of why the board thought that this was a good idea. Yes, you came to the position, and at one point you said that we are in favor of keeping it how it is, how the law is. But the issue of Canagata and Biasi that went to, as far as the Third Circuit, was actually keeping the law as it is, because the Third Circuit actually found that there was no intent of the legislature to make this requirement in Title 18, Section 384. And that in fact, the prohibitions in 384 was to really just prevent a party candidate from feigning association with a real or some other political party in filing their nomination papers. So the court said that we as a legislature expressly did not require this with regard to our nomination process for governor and lieutenant governor, at least in subchapter 2. So what we're really now saying is that we want to make sure that there's no longer a question of whether there is an intent. We are going to change the law to say this type of candidacy is going to be prohibited. And again, the question becomes, why? Why? Why couldn't two people who are of different political parties, or one of one and one of none, why could they not run together? Again, the question is, do they bring to the table what the voters need in their political leadership to decide to elect them? And I might not, you might say I'm arguing from the place of being not in a political party, because I'm no party. But again, it comes back to what underlies this? What is the political philosophy? And I think it was Dr. Molina who started out by saying, we really are not a two-party state. Look at the numbers. This body doesn't have one Republican. When last we had one? So in the national dialogue, we're talking about strict demarcations between party lines. Here we are not. Because I know I could not have gotten elected without no party, Republican, Democrat, voters voting for me. So I think when we decide to make these types of changes, we have to be able to say this is going to improve our political process in some very specific way, as opposed to protecting some kind of party affiliation requirement. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your responses.